I'm here tonight to talk about my body and to talk about how I talk about it, what I say about my body, and what my body says about me. And the question that I've just started to face is, am I fat? And I'll tell you why I think so, and I'll tell you why I don't think so. As you may know, because of my polycystic kidney disease, which causes my kidneys to be greatly enlarged, I am carrying this around all the time. And if you saw that on someone else, you might say that person is fat. If I saw that on someone else, I would probably say that person was fat. I hadn't really thought of myself as fat for a few reasons. One, I was never fat when I was a kid, and to some degree I still think of myself as the skinny little guy I was in high school. And also because there is a strong connection between the two meanings of the word fat. Fat is a substance in your body that makes people fat. That's, of course, that's circular reasoning, but diet and genetics lead the body to have a certain amount of this tissue, fatty tissue we call fat, on the body. And I thought, well, I don't have all of this because of fat. I have all of that because my kidneys are huge. My nephrologist estimates that they probably weigh about 10 pounds each. Because of the innumerable cysts. That is actually a word that appears in my diagnosis, that my kidneys have innumerable cysts. They cannot be counted. So I have these big ass kidneys that take up a huge amount of space in my body. And that's why I look fat. But I'm not fat. And then I'm thinking, well, is that what fat means? Does fat mean that you have this stuff called fat in excess on your body? Now, I really hate when people start any kind of piece of writing with Webster defines blah, blah, blah. It's just so hacky and lazy and trite. But I decided it was time to hit the dictionary. I used the Cambridge Dictionary because I'm not just some basic Webster user. And fat, the adjective, said having a lot of flesh on one's body. That's getting harder to argue with than having a body covered with fat, the noun. And I thought, what's flesh? I look up flesh, and basically the soft material between the skin and the bones. Maybe tissue is used, but that's it. And so, because normally I would think of flesh as the muscle, the meat, but yeah, organs would be flesh. That's the soft material in between the skin and the bones. And then my mind starts going to, well, the kidneys are only that big because of the cysts. And are cysts still flesh? And then I realized I was just playing word games at this point. Then that there was no more point in hair-splitting definitions of fat when it started seeming like the word just applied to me. And it's funny that I think it's funny that I had any resistance at all to it, because I feel like I'm a pretty darn fat accepting guy. My wife is fat. She uses the word fat. She doesn't believe in, sugarcoating it with things like big boned or, big BBW or whatever. She says she's fat. I rarely say it to or about her because she knows she's fat. I know she knows. It's not something that comes up in conversation, hey honey, I'm home, you're fat. It's just not, I have no reason to say it generally, unless we're talking about shopping for clothes or something like that. And other women in the past I've dated have been fat, and it's strange to apply the word to myself, in large part because I still, to some degree, think I'm 20 years old and just skinny as heck. I don't even know how much I weighed when I was 20, probably more than high school and a lot less than now. And so I'm thinking, like, how much of it am I resistant to using this word just because it clashes with my previously created self-image that I worked on for years? I say worked on facetiously because I wasn't trying to make myself think that my body was one way or another. But, I spent years being, fairly skinny and just sort of stuck with that as a self-image, self-concept, despite the fact that I gained weight with age, as so many of us do. And then for years I've known that, my stomach stuck out a bit because of the kidneys. But in the past it stuck out less because the kidneys hadn't grown quite so disgustingly large and distended yet. I say disgusting, I'm not really talking about thinking my body is disgusting. I'm thinking that polycystic kidneys look disgusting and horrifying, and do a little Google image search for polycystic kidney disease. Maybe don't do it just before bed or a meal, but it's bad, as I discovered, unfortunately, in a very terrible way that I described the other day on the computer in a class where I was first supposed to be learning Microsoft Access, but instead I was learning that I had horrifying things within inside my body. And there's certain, I'm sure part of it is just that even though I'm a pretty fat accepting guy, I still live in a society with all sorts of fat phobic, anti-fat messages that, if I didn't already apply them to myself, I had no desire to apply them to myself as my body got bigger. But over these past couple years, between coming to the conclusion that I'm autistic and being told that my kidneys are failing, which I knew would happen someday, but I didn't know what would happen when I did. And just because of everything of the last few years, just the world being on fire and whatnot, but primarily from the autism thing and the kidney failure thing, it's made me think about myself and take another look at myself from different angles, through different lenses, without certain illusions that I've had in the past. And along with taking that look at myself, I have been taking a look, I repeat, at all of this that I'm carrying around. And then alongside that, there's definitely some fatty tissue there. I have definitely seen women and other AFAB people with less fat on their chest than I do, or, a similar amount maybe, but, that's some fat right there that I didn't always have. So it's just been making me think about, and also, a good lesson is that you don't know why someone is fat. If you see someone with a big belly, it's probably not their kidneys, but it might be. It's so easy to say, oh, that person is large and round because they have too much fat on their body, and they have too much fat on their body because they eat bad food, they don't exercise, they eat too much is the big one. But even if it is fat that makes up their fat body, you don't know why that is. You don't know if it's a glandular condition. You don't know. You don't know that they eat too much. Maybe they don't eat too much. Maybe they should eat more. And it can be a thing where if you don't have enough calories, then your body grabs onto them and doesn't let them go. Or they might have a big round belly because they have huge kidneys that have been growing for the entire length of the person's life to date and are probably failing right now through no fault of their own, because you can do things for your health that may prevent kidney failure in the long run. Monitoring your blood pressure, diet to some degree, things like that. But for the most part, if you have the genes for polycystic kidney disease, you are on that train to kidney failure. Maybe you'll die of something else first. That's the thing. Sometimes people die at 90 years old of some other disease, and after they die, it's discovered that they had polycystic kidney disease. And it's like, wow, this 90-year-old would have only had another 15 years to live because of their kidneys. I'm just making up scenarios right now, but that's a thing to think about that I wasn't even thinking when I started this talk, which is that, just like so many other things in people's lives, you don't know why a person is fat, why a person has a large body. Doesn't matter why. It matters to that person and their life, and maybe to people directly around them in their life, but for the most part, it shouldn't matter to you why that person is fat or looks fat. I've kind of run out of steam, so I think I will leave it there.